William McKinley was the 25th President of the United States and the third president to be assassinated in office. Born on January 29, 1843, in Niles, Ohio, McKinley grew up in a large family and served as a soldier in the Civil War, rising to the rank of brevet major. After the war, he studied law, was admitted to the bar, and began a career in politics as a Republican. He served in Congress for 14 years and became known for his support of protective tariffs and the gold standard. In 1896, McKinley won the presidency in a landslide, defeating William Jennings Bryan, with the campaign slogan, "A full dinner pail." His first term saw economic recovery and the Spanish-American War in 1898, which resulted in U.S. acquisition of Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. McKinley was re-elected in 1900, again defeating Bryan, and began his second term in March 1901. He focused on trade expansion and colonial policy. In September 1901, McKinley traveled to Buffalo, New York, to attend the Pan-American Exposition, a world's fair celebrating progress and hemispheric unity. The exposition featured modern technology, including electricity and the telephone. On September 6, 1901, McKinley held a public reception in the Temple of Music, a large auditorium on the fairgrounds. Thousands of people lined up to shake the president's hand. Security was light by modern standards, with only a few police officers and detectives present. McKinley greeted visitors warmly, smiling and shaking hands for nearly an hour. As the line moved forward, a man approached with his right hand wrapped in a handkerchief. The man, Leon Czolgosz, waited until he was next in line. At approximately 4:07 p.m., Czolgosz extended his left hand as if to shake, then fired 2 shots from a concealed revolver with his right hand. McKinley staggered backward and collapsed. Chaos erupted as people rushed to the president's aid. Czolgosz was immediately tackled by members of the crowd and subdued by police. McKinley was carried to a nearby hospital on the fairgrounds, where doctors began treating his wounds. The nation held its breath once again, hoping the president would recover. Leon Czolgosz was a 28-year-old unemployed steelworker and self-described anarchist. He had become radicalized by reading anarchist literature and attending speeches by Emma Goldman and other figures in the movement. Czolgosz believed that political leaders were oppressors of the working class and that assassinating McKinley would strike a blow for the cause. He had traveled to Buffalo specifically to attend the exposition and carry out his plan. Czolgosz had been turned away from the reception line the day before due to security concerns but returned on September 6. After shooting McKinley, Czolgosz was beaten by the crowd before police took him into custody. He was charged with murder and placed on trial in Buffalo. Czolgosz refused to cooperate with his lawyers and made no attempt to deny the act. He was found guilty on September 24, 1901, and sentenced to death by electrocution. He was executed at Auburn State Prison on October 29, 1901. McKinley was taken to the Exposition Hospital, where surgeons attempted to remove the bullets. One bullet was easily extracted, but the second had lodged deep in his abdomen. Doctors decided against further probing, fearing more damage, and closed the wound. McKinley appeared to improve initially, and the public was told he was recovering. Vice President Theodore Roosevelt, who was vacationing in the Adirondacks, was summoned to Buffalo but told there was no immediate cause for concern. On September 12, McKinley's condition worsened as gangrene and infection set in. He died early on September 14, 1901, at age 58. Roosevelt was sworn in as the 26th president that afternoon. The nation mourned McKinley deeply, with massive funerals and processions. His death prompted renewed calls for presidential protection. In 1901,
Congress authorized the Secret Service to provide full-time protection for the president, a role it had previously performed only informally.
The assassination of William McKinley raised immediate questions about whether Leon Czolgosz acted alone or as part of a larger anarchist plot. Czolgosz had attended speeches by Emma Goldman and other anarchist leaders, but no evidence was found linking him to any organized group. Goldman was arrested briefly in connection with the case, but released for lack of evidence. The investigation focused on Czolgosz's background and mental state. He had been rejected by anarchist circles for his erratic behavior and was described as a loner. The trial was swift, lasting only 8 days, and Czolgosz made no effort to defend himself. He was convicted and executed within weeks. McKinley's death had significant political consequences. Theodore Roosevelt became president at age 42, bringing a new energy and progressive agenda to the office. Roosevelt's policies, including trust-busting and conservation, marked a shift from McKinley's more conservative approach. The assassination also accelerated the push for presidential security. The Secret Service, originally created to combat counterfeiting, was formally tasked with protecting the president. This change was formalized in 1906 with permanent funding for the detail. The case highlighted the dangers of political extremism and the influence of radical ideologies in the early 20th century. Anarchist violence had been a concern in Europe and the US, with previous assassinations of European leaders. McKinley's killing was seen as part of a broader wave of anarchist attacks. The Pan-American Exposition, intended to showcase progress and unity, was overshadowed by the tragedy. The Temple of Music, where the shooting occurred, was later demolished. McKinley's legacy includes his role in winning the Spanish-American War and expanding U.S. territory overseas. His support for the gold standard and protective tariffs shaped economic policy. Historians debate whether his death altered the course of American history. Roosevelt's presidency is often seen as more dynamic, but McKinley's steady leadership helped bring the nation through the war and economic recovery. The assassination remains a lesser-known chapter compared to Lincoln or Kennedy, but it had a lasting impact on security and politics.
The assassination of William McKinley, on September 6, 1901, ended the life of a president who had guided the nation through war and economic growth. McKinley died on September 14, 1901, at age 58, after 80 days of medical struggle. His death elevated Theodore Roosevelt to the presidency and ushered in a new era of progressive reform. The event led to stronger presidential protection and the formal role of the Secret Service in safeguarding the chief executive. It also highlighted the risks of political extremism and the influence of radical ideas in a time of social change. McKinley's funeral train traveled from Buffalo to Washington and then to Canton, Ohio, where he was buried. The nation mourned deeply, with flags at half-staff and public memorials across the country. To this day, in 2026, the assassination is studied for its role in shaping modern security practices and the transition of power. The Pan-American Exposition site in Buffalo is now a park, and the Temple of Music no longer stands. The case serves as a reminder of the fragility of leadership and the consequences of political violence. What do you think? Was Leon Czolgosz acting alone, or were there broader influences at play? How did McKinley's death shape the early 20th century? Share your thoughts in the comments, we read every one. If historical mysteries and presidential cases like this keep you thinking, subscribe to our True Crime and turn on notifications for new deep dives every week. Because some events, no matter how brief, can change the course of history. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and stay curious.